Tonight, on the fifth quarter, let the madness begin its march. UNCG wrestling has been cut, and the Packers win the Super Bowl.
Back in, he scores! He's go all the way! Yankees win!
We're talking about practice.
Out of here! It's gone! Welcome to the fifth quarter. I'm Blaine Wiles. On March 17th, the 2011 NCAA March Madness tournament tipped off. Heading into the Sweet 16 this weekend, only one number one seed has been eliminated, Pittsburgh, leaving three number one seeds left, Duke, Kansas, and Ohio State. As always, the big story to the tournament are the upsets. The Sweet 16 will showcase four double-digit seeds, number 12 Richmond, 11 VCU, number 10 FSU, and 11 Marquette. The most intriguing matchup is between VCU and FSU. VCU has won their last two games between number 6 Georgetown and number 3 Purdue by double digits. Only UConn, Kansas, Ohio State, and BYU have done that this year. The ACC leads all other conferences with 3 teams left, UNC, Duke, and Florida State. While the Big East started with 11 teams, now only 2 teams are left, UConn and Marquette. The Lakers outshined the Phoenix Suns in an epic triple overtime game. Kobe Bryant scored a season-high 42 points, while Ron Artest, Queensbridge, scored 5 of his 18 points in the final 2 minutes. The Lakers led the Suns by 21 points in the third quarter, but Channing Frye hit some clutch three-pointers while Steve Nash was relentless in his playmaking. The two teams combined for 269 points and resulted in the Lakers' 139-137 win. The last triple overtime game held in Los Angeles was in 1969. In other NBA news, the New York Knicks are struggling to string together some wins. The Knicks have lost 3 straight and are only 4-6 during the last 10 games. It's needless to say that the Knicks are underperforming, while the Denver Nuggets, the team Carmelo Anthony came from, are 7-3 during the last 10 games and are currently holding the 5th seed in the West. The Knicks are the only 7-9 since Melo arrived, and questions about the future of head coach Mike D'Antoni have arisen. Last Sunday, NASCAR went to the short track in Tennessee Bristol Motor Speedway. The usually bumping and grinding was evident from the drop of the green flag. With just 26 laps to go, Kyle Busch passed Carl Edwards for the lead and eventually the win. Busch has now swept Bristol for the second time, winning in all 3 of NASCAR's premier circuits, the Sprint Cup, Nationwide Series, and Camping World Truck Series. This week, NASCAR heads to Fontana, California, the home track for Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon. Kurt Busch still leads the standings, followed by Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart. Jimmy Johnson is in 7th, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 9th, and Jeff Gordon sits in 19th, only 18 points from the 12th spot. With only 9 games left in the season, the Carolina Hurricanes are fighting to get into the playoffs. They are currently in 9th place, a game and a half behind the Buffalo Sabres. The Hurricanes have a tough road ahead of them. They have a home-and-home against the 5th-seeded Tampa Bay Lightning. After that, they play the 2nd-seed Washington Capitals. The Canes hope to be no less than 2 points behind the Buffalo Sabres by April 3rd when the Sabres come to the RBC Center for what will likely decide both teams' fate for the rest of the season. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with senior college basketball correspondent Eric Brown. Welcome back to the show. Joining me is senior college basketball correspondent Eric Brown. We're going to go over some of the games for this weekend, and we're going to start with the Sweet 16 games that start on Thursday night. Eric, who do you have? Who are your picks to get to the Elite Eight and ultimately to the Final Four?
As much as it pains me to say it, I got Duke in the Elite Eight. I think they have too many good players for Arizona. I'm going to also say that I have Connecticut eking out a close win against San Diego State. My UNC Tar Heels pulling it out against Marquette. I think they're too big, too long, too athletic. Ohio State, they've been playing great. I have them to beat Kentucky. And the other side of the bracket, it really doesn't matter. Kansas is going to come out of it. I'm interested to watch the Jimmer Fredette show. I think he's going to have a big game against Florida.
I do agree with you on Jimmer Fredette. I do think he's going to have a big game, but I think that Chandler Parsons can shut him down, and I think he will. Florida has too much talent for BYU. BYU really only has one guy, let's face it, and BYU is stacked. Florida is stacked. I think Florida comes out there. I like Wisconsin over Butler just because I think they're a better team, and I think Butler's Cinderella magic is wearing off a little bit. I like FSU over VCU. FSU is one of the best teams in the country in defense. I think they'll stop them up. Kansas over Richmond. Like you said, Kansas is going to come out of there no matter what. I like UNC over Marquette. Like you said, they're huge. Darius Johnson-Odom, Raleigh native, he's great for Marquette, but UNC is way too big. Zeller and Henson should have big games. I like OSU over Kentucky, of course, Duke over Arizona. Both those games should be massacres. And I like San Diego State over UConn. I think UConn might be a better team, but I've picked San Diego State to win, and I'm going to stick with it. Going into that, who is your Final Four, and who do you think will come out of it in the championship game? I'm
going to have to say I probably have, though it pains me to say it, I'm going to have Ohio State beating my Tar Heels. I have them beating them in a close game, but I think the three-pointers by Ohio State will just be a little bit too much. UNC doesn't guard the three real well. Duke over UConn. I choked a little bit putting that one out there. Duke, too much talent, too good a guard play. If UConn does get to that point, I think UConn just can't hang with them. Kansas in the Final Four, like I said earlier. And I'm actually going to go with Butler to repeat into the Final Four. They got one of the best coaches in the nation, in my opinion, and I think they will end up getting there.
Those are good calls. I like Florida over Wisconsin coming out of that region. I think Butler is good. I think they can beat Wisconsin, but I love Florida right now. I love the way they're playing. Kansas over at Florida State. I think that'll be a closer game than a lot of people anticipate. Florida State does have great defense, but the Morris twins are just a load to handle down low for Kansas. So I see them coming out of that side of the bracket. I like OSU over Carolina. Not just because I'm a Duke fan, but OSU's been playing the best ball of any team in the tournament right now. They got big old Jared Sullinger inside. They also have three-point shooting out the wazoo. UNC's great in close games, and I think they'll have another one against Marquette and pull it out, but I don't think this will be that close of a game for them to pull out. And then I like Duke over San Diego State. I don't think that will really be close either. I think Duke's just far the superior team. All right, now for championship games, Eric, who do you have going to the final game and winning it?
Well, hopefully this happens because my bracket has it happening. I have Kansas versus Ohio State. I think that, like you said earlier, with the Morris twins down low, they're a load. I don't see anybody on that side of the bracket being able to contain those two. I have Ohio State beating Duke in a really close game. Great outside shooting. I think Jared Sullinger is going to be the difference in that game. Gives them a little bit more of an inside presence than Duke. Though Kyrie Irving is the X factor. If he has a big game, Duke could definitely pull off that win. I'm going to go with, to win the national championship, I'm going to go with Ohio State. I think the three-pointers will get them there. And like I said, I think Kansas is almost like a two-man team at the moment.
I completely agree with you. I like Kansas to come out and get into the Final Four, but I do not like them over Florida. I think Florida is stacked. I love Chandler Parsons. I think their guard play is phenomenal. I think they will beat Florida. And I have Duke over Ohio State. Now, Ohio State's playing better than anyone right now, but I think that if the Plumlees can kind of control Sullinger and Nolan, Kyrie, and Singler are all shooting the three well, and of course Ryan Kelly, another Raleigh native, I think Duke will come out of there. And then I like Duke over Florida in the national championship game and Duke to repeat. So that's our coverage for the NCAA March Madness. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the closing segment. Welcome back to the show. UNCG Spring Sports is well underway, and for baseball, it couldn't be going much better. Last weekend, UNCG took 2 of 3 from Appalachian State, improving their Southern Conference record to 5-1, tying them with Samford for the second spot in the conference behind Elon. This weekend, UNCG travels for their first away series against Furman. Women's softball hasn't quite found the stride yet. They have an 11-13 record, but a 2-1 record in Southern Conference play. This weekend, they will host Furman with a doubleheader on Saturday and finish out the series on Sunday. On March 14th, UNCG announced they are going to cut the wrestling program. The sports department will save roughly $308,000 a year. The wrestling program makes up about 2.8% of the sports department $11 million budget. Kim Record, UNCG's athletic director, said in an interview with the News and Record that the state budget pushed $750,000 in scholarship fees on the athletic department. The money saved from the wrestling program has not been delegated but will be added to the budget. The main concern within the community is what will happen to the Southern Scuffle, a wrestling tournament started and hosted by UNCG. The tournament generates an estimated $1.4 million in tourism revenue. This year, UNCG said they will host a tournament, but there are talks about finding a new host team. We'll have more on the news story later this week after we interview Kim Record, the athletic director. We're going to take a quick timeout. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the fifth quarter. We're now in our segment we like to call our unprofessional advice. Today, I'll be addressing players and fans of the National Football League. NFL owners recently voted to move the kickoff from the 30-yard line to the 35-yard line. This has many fans and players disgruntled with the thought of a significant number of kickoffs resulting in touchbacks. Now, as a Packers fan, this does make me a little less nervous about having to deal with Devin Hester and Percy Harvin twice a year. However, this rule change hardly eliminates what some consider. Can we start that over? Not bad. Welcome back to the fifth quarter. We're now in our segment we like to call our unprofessional advice. Today, I'll be addressing players and fans of the National Football League. NFL owners recently voted to move the kickoff from the 30-yard line to the 35-yard line. This has many fans and players disgruntled with the number of significant kickoff resulting in touchbacks. Now, as a Packers fan, this does make me a little less nervous about having to deal with Devin Hester and Percy Harvin twice a year. However, the rule change hardly eliminates what some consider to be the most exciting play in football. More kickers in the league don't have the strength or ability to consistently kick the ball out of the back of the end zone anyway. The NFL owners also discussed moving the spot of the touchback from the 20-yard line to the 25, which would have limited dangerous return men like Hester and Josh Cribbs even more. However, they decided it was best to just leave the spot of the touchback well alone. I know this is potentially upsetting news to players like Hester, Cribbs, Harvin, and Brad Smith, as well as to their respective teams. But I think the whole deal is getting blown a little out of proportion. Most of the time, players will still have the opportunity to return the kickoff if they choose to do so, and owners believe this will help in player safety on the kickoff, where a significant amount of injuries have taken place. NFL owners have also decided that video replay will be used on all scoring plays so that coaches will not have to use their challenges to review questionable calls. All in all, I believe that the owners know what they're doing in regards to rule changes. It may seem like a big deal now, and I can't help but feel for guys like Hester and Cribbs, but I don't think there's any way their jobs will become significantly less important. Chances are, by the time football starts this fall, fingers crossed, no one will be talking about these rule changes anymore, and everything will be fine and dandy in professional football. This concludes our show for tonight. Don't forget to tune in next week for my interview with UNCG Athletic Director Kim Record regarding the recent dismissal of the UNCG wrestling team. The fifth quarter is now on YouTube. Our channel is The Fifth Quarter STV. Stay classy, Greensboro. Don't forget to wear sunscreen.